My name is Tylluan. I'm a solitary pagan witch. I'm an author and the founder of the Wolf and Howl Press. And today's little chat is about using running water in spells. Why do we use it? Well, we use it in order to send a spell upon its way, because once we've cast a spell, it's rather difficult to know what to do with all the bits, all the twigs, all the leaves, all the bits of incense and everything we might have used. And traditionally the idea was that you set it free in running water. Now, you do have to be careful with this because some things that people use in spells are not necessarily going to be the sort of stuff you should be putting into the sea or into the local river. I mean, it might be all right with a leaf or a twig, but you do have to be careful and you don't want to get caught by litter wardens or anything like that. So I've been trying to come up with some other ideas. We use water to try and set things free. The sort of things, either the stuff we've been using in the spell, or sometimes if we've used a knot. The idea is that it carries it away from us. That's the idea. It carries it away from us. But what do we do? I mean, I can't get to the sea these days to go and cast a piece of cotton that's got a knot spell tied in it. I can't get there now. And we do have to be careful about what we throw away because, you know, some things will catch. Like, I used to know someone who used to put all the cut-off bits of her knitting she used to put out for the birds to build their nests. And that was a great idea until one day she saw a bird that had actually got tied up in a piece and, was struggling to get free. Well, that was not what she'd intended. She tried to act from the best of intentions, but it didn't work. And this is the same sort of thing here. We might think we're doing a great job by chucking our knot spell with a piece of string off the cliff or whatever it is we've done, but of course it mightn't be so good for sea life or birds or what have you. So we do have to think, how are we going to do it? Well, we can. It's always possible to be quite creative with things like this. And one thing I'd say is, well, all right, what we're doing is we're washing. I like to think of it as not so much setting it free, because there's lots of ways to set it free. One of the best to set it free is up here, mentally. Please, use your heads, use your imagination. Imagine yourself setting it free. Imagine it is going into the sea. It doesn't have to physically do it. That is the whole point of casting a spell. You are trying to make your wish, your intention, become reality. So if you're trying to do that and believe you can, there is absolutely no reason why you cannot, at the end of the spell, imagine that you have cast the piece of string into running water. And what I was going to suggest as a way of helping you, because sometimes we do need a little bit of physical assistance to help us imagine. I mean, ever since childhood, we've been told not to daydream, not to wander off in fantasy. And yet fantasy is incredibly popular. You look at all these serials and series on the television these days, you know, a lot of them are fantasy worlds that have never ever existed. But you've got people riding these horses, wearing armour and all this sort of thing. It is fantasy and we love it. Because deep down we are all still children and we need our imaginations. Right, got that out of the way. So at the end of your spell, if you are told or intended your spell to cast it into running water, what I would suggest is, before you started the spell, you have a nice big jug or bottle of water from the tap, because after all, the tap or the faucet is running water. So you put that in your jug. Now you can add to that a few things that might purify it, like a little bit of salt. And then when it comes to it, you can imagine you're putting it into the sea, because the sea is salt water. You can do all sorts of things. But when you come to the end of your thing and you're setting it free and you're doing so mote it be, or amen, or in my case it would be fiat, because that's the ending I quite like, then you take it and you wash it with the water from the jug. And as you're doing that, you imagine, you get that imagination in overdrive, you imagine that you're washing it, throwing it into the river. You're throwing it away. You're casting it free. And that's what you tell it. I cast you free into the river of my imagination. I set you free in the ocean of my intention. Something like that. That's the way you do it. And then what do you do with it afterwards? Well, what I would do is I'd wrap it up very carefully in something like a piece of newspaper or, well, almost anything. And then I would either bury it, stick it in the compost heap. That's always a good one. There's always very popular compost heaps and muck heaps. I mean, we don't have big piles of cow manure normally anymore, but compost heaps are quite good. Anything like that. Bury it in a flower pot. And if you can't do anything else, just say, I have set you free. Go do your spell. And just pop it in the bin if you have to. You know, use your imagination. The spell work has been done. You know, why not? Because your little bit of string or what have you might get washed up on the beach. Somebody comes along and pops it in the bin or the recycling anyway. Don't be afraid. Don't let people make you fearful. Be the witch you were always meant to be. And best of luck with it. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.